What is it we've become? And how much each other's becoming. The frequent baptism in coffee cups, a chocolate croissant broken, the body of Christ, and all the talk and utterance hardly less than Scripture. Our imperfect love, yet casting out demons, even faltering, raising us from the dead. And we walk through the night hand in hand with Mary Magdalene and Lazarus, only light around us, and this lightness within, and deep in the throat a lump, gratefulness. Oh, the sweetness of it all. A taste of four. It is such a privilege for me to be here tonight. Thank you for coming. And it was a privilege for you to hear Sally Langley play as you came in. I want to thank the Cathedral staff for arranging this. There was some hard work done. Also want to thank our bishop for his gracious welcome. I haven't been here for many years. It's nice to be back. Poetry is a way of looking at the world. Poems write themselves, and the poet translates them as best he or she can. The poem which I just read, I wrote for you, because both Jen and I feel that we owe you so much. We spent about a decade of our lives here, and you've nourished us in so many ways. We live by each other. We live by each other's humor and each other's wisdom and each other's generosity and each other's faith, and the understanding that Jesus of Nazareth is the model of our humanity born of God. We live by each other. I hope I'm in you, you are in me. So to express that, I'm going to read that poem one more time. This is for you. A poem called Becoming. And honestly, this is how it works. What is it we become? And how much each other's becoming? The frequent baptism in coffee cups. A chocolate croissant broken. The body of Christ. In all the talk and utterance hardly less than Scripture. Our imperfect love, yet casting out demons, even faltering, raising us from the dead. And we walk through the night hand in hand with Mary Magdalene and Lazarus, only light around us, and this light within. And deep in the throat, a lump, gratefulness. Oh, the sweetness of it all. A taste of far. Jan and I live on a farm in Oregon. We're at the very eastern edge of the Willamette Valley. Cross the creek that goes through our property, and you begin to climb up into the foothills of the Cascades. It's a broad valley between two mountain ranges. And it is said that if you had to eat only what's grown within 25 miles of where you live, the best fed people would be in the Willamette Valley. People who visit us at the farm often comment on how quiet it is, particularly at night. And it is quiet. But one morning, several years ago, at about 5:30, we heard an airplane overhead. I mean, right overhead. Really over the neighbor's field. Silver-winged he drifted there among the early morning sun rays, golding the sky above the fields, the wheat, the ryegrass green, houses shadowed by the mountain and silent. But then, full throttled, thrilled, he barrel-rolled and rolled us out of bed into the window, now eyes believing ears, an arrowhead dancing on the air. And then a loop-the-loop, another and another, before he dizzily dove straight down field and houseward, screaming a carnival scream, and at an instant turn, climbed straight up. Engine roaring, hooray! And floated again on the sun rays of morning. Soon was gone on thin sound and silence. And we, aroused, awake now, as if startled by an archangel silver-winged, resolved to rise and roar, hooray! Each day, for sky and fields, and, though grounded, these aerobatic lives would live a while. Our son John had a dog, a piebald dachshund named Wolfgang. But always called him Wolfie. They were a pair. The dog was a one-man dog, and John Jr. was a one-dog man. It was a poetic relationship which they had, and so toward the end of the dog's life, I had to write a poem because our son John, at the end of the day, would get down on his knees and let the dog lick his bald head. The dog is blind now. His world, the house, the yard, the car's backseat, everywhere blackness. Doesn't take long walks, chase the ball, jump on the bed in the morning, bumps into things in the hallway, still sniffs his way to the dish, still finds the back door, the patio, sun-soaked and silent, so sleeps the day through, dreams dog dreams. The man cherishes the dog, the companionship undiminished, like a personal chef, tends the dog's diet, like a chauffeur, drives him to the vet, and at day's end gets down on his knees, lets the dog lick his bald head. The popsicle, the man calls it. A touch worthy of the Sistine Chapel. How one gives life to the other, and the other returns it. There is such immensity in little things. Michelangelo would see it. This is called Magi. A couple of years ago, I read Sonia Nazario's Enrique's Journey. Sonia Nazario writes for the LA Times, and she took a year out to join the refugees leaving the Central American countries to come to the southern border of the United States. I've thought about that so many times. To decide to leave one of those Central American countries is an act of faith. To step out the door is an act of faith. To take one step away is an act of faith. Every step is an act of faith. Seeking safety and a new life in this land. And I ask myself, could I do that? Would I do that? And I have to be honest with you, I'm not sure I could. I have no training in calamity, and those people do. Every day of their lives is calamity. And so I wrote this poem called Magi. Suppose they were the Magi, not on camels coming, nor coming from the east, neither kings of any kind. They come from the south, following the star in the north, dressed, shod in charities, bathed in dust and dirt, bearing neither frankincense nor myrrh, nor pockets full of pesos, only themselves, like gold, refined in the crucible of poverty, of violence, of death's indifference. The purification of the courage to be alive and seeking always so labor and hunger satisfactions, and the doves descend with peace in a land where the Christ child cries. At the river, another Herod has built a wall, high and heralding hatred. And beyond, the Christ child's cry is distant, less even than an echo. But one awaits that moment when all the great-hearted shout, roar, like Joshua and the tribes at Jericho, and the wall tumbles down, and the Magi wade into our welcome and into our shame. Back to the farm. Some of you have been there already, and the rest of you are invited. Call ahead. This poem is a reminiscence about the life we live there. The poem is called Not Only This. Not only this, the moonlit silence, night long till morning, or the balm of dew on the grass in day's dawning, or the fir trees scaling the sun rising above the mountain, or the gauze of ground fog lying lazily over the land, or the white clover greening the meadow once again, or the creek's continual descant, rockfalls singing their water song, or the deer at dusk grazing on fallen fruit in the orchard, or the comic waddle of wild turkeys trooping warily ever elsewhere, or the patch of bachelor buttons waving sky blue in the west winds, or the incense of apples ripening, ready nearly to pick on September days, or the Canada geese in V formation, yelking, alicking overhead, or the cat napping on my belly as I nap on the couch in the late afternoon. Not only this, but the sense of belonging here, in this one place in the wild world, being alive among all that's living, every sound, the endless Te Deum, every sight, the earth's long hallowing, each day, for us, my love and I, a resurrection. We bank at the Umpqua Bank. It used to be the Sterling Bank. And before that, it was the First Interstate Bank. Banks keep morphing. But we keep going to the Umpqua Bank. And because they're the most daring bank we have ever used. In every one of their branches, they have a sign with words 12 inches high. Welcome to the world's greatest bank. Its headquarters is in Roseburg, Oregon. I keep telling them, you're begging for contradiction, but they don't take the sign down. We use the bank in Lebanon, or the bank in Albany, or the bank in Jefferson, or the bank in Salem, or even the bank in Eugene, partly because they have coffee in little cups. But it's the kind of coffee you can walk across. And on Friday, they have chocolate chip cookies and snickerdoodles. Now that's worth loyalty. They also know us by name. So we just keep going there. This is a poem called The Tattooed Teller. And this will prove to you that an old bishop is still alive. The Tattooed Teller. The teller is tattooed. Rosalie is, let me tell you. She's new to the bank. Pretty young woman. Very friendly. Efficient. I'd seen her several times before, but never so much of her as I saw today. Above the low neckline of her blouse, I could see, couldn't help but see, the tips of wings tattooed to her chest. Of an eagle? Of an angel? Did I ask? Of course I didn't ask. Only an oaf would ask. But my mind took flight. Fluttered as she counted cash. Soared like a dream in adolescence. I thanked her very much for her services and waned away. In the car, I told my wife. She rolled her eyes. You'll come back to earth, she said. But I still wonder if it's an eagle or an angel. I'm glad you like that poem as much as I do. I was going to do a collection of short stories in the vein of the Brooks Brothers suit, and I was going to call it Reconsidering the Lilies. I won't go into that. And I had a cover made. Jan's sister, my sister-in-law, who's one of the great artists in Iowa, did the cover for me. And it was lovely. And then I changed my mind and decided not to do it. So I was stuck with this gorgeous cover for a book that was never going to be. However, I decided to go ahead and write a poem called Reconsidering the Lilies to justify the use of the cover. And we'll put this either as the first poem in the collection or the last poem, and I would be satisfied with that. So this is considered, this is called Reconsidering the Lilies. And we're going to do this together in a moment. Your lives are going to be, when time comes, I'll do it once all by myself. Only then, all that is rare about it, all that is beautiful, remember those words. Okay? I'll do the whole poem first. You have to see it. That one day lily, apart from all the others. See it in every light. See it in the morning, as the long, low rays lift it skyward. Again at midday, as the sun sets it petal by petal aflame. See it in the morning, in the evening, as the shadows slowly darken its day. Only then, from its bloom to its withering, do you see its singularity. Only then, all that is rare about it, all that is beautiful. You have to see it that one day really, apart from all the others. See it from every angle, from the front porch, as if upon a fallen star, alongside a companion in the ease and effort of creation, on your knees, setting it free from weeds that waste it. Only then, from its bloom to its withering, do you see its singularity. Only then, all that is rare about it, all that is beautiful. With each of us, with you, with me, apart from all others, time must be taken. See us in every light. See us from every angle. Only then, from our bloom to our withering, can be seen our singularity. Only then, all that is rare about us, all that is beautiful. Got it? Okay. I'll signal you when time comes. You have to see it that one day really, apart from all the others. See it in every light. See it in the morning, as the long, low rays lifted skyward. Again at midday, as the sun sets it petal by petal of flame. See it in the evening, as the shadows slowly darken its day. Only then, from its bloom to its withering, do you see its singularity. Only then, all that is rare about it, all that is beautiful. You have to see it that one day really, apart from all the others. See it from every angle, from the front porch, as if upon a fallen star, alongside a companion in the ease and effort of creation, on your knees, setting it free from weeds that waste it. Only then, from its bloom to its withering, do you see its singularity. Only then, all that is rare about it, all that is beautiful. With each of us, with you, with me, apart from all others, time must be taken. See us in every light. See us from every angle. Only then, from our bloom to our withering, can you see our singularity. Only then, all that is rare about us, all that is beautiful. And I want you to believe that. Annually, we make a trip to Pella, Iowa. Pella windows, doors, That's where Jan's sister and brother-in-law and niece and nephew live. We went early this year because Jan's sister and her brother-in-law were both in not good shape. And during a telephone conversation with Jen, her sister said, "You better come soon." So we went. Spent 4 or 5 days with them. And every morning, as we sat at the breakfast table, out on the deck, they live in the woods, out on the deck, railing, this little house wren perched. And I don't know what you know about house wrens. I didn't know anything about house wrens, they would face us and say something to us. It appeared to us that it was speaking to us. And it happened every morning. And so I just had to write a poem called The House Wren. Each day in the morning light, lazy among the maples, a tiny house wren, less than half the size of my hand, hardly heavier than its feathers, perched on the deck railing, trilling, 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 its breast bulging like a bellows, its head skyward, its beak wide open, as if an aria of tragic love. For us a table beyond the glass door, perhaps a Pavarotti among the birds. But there seemed something so insistent, something that felt like a scolding, a scathing even, from this tiny bird, this tiny body of vehemence, as if Ezekiel, a prophet on the railing, warning us to change our ways, else none will live to see the morning light, lazy among the maples. I don't know if the bishop is here tonight or not, because I'm always hesitant to speak about this when bishops are around. In 1963, in Sheridan, Wyoming, I was the curate at St. Peter's Church. I was a wonderful curate. In fact, I was so wonderful that the rector vowed never to have another. I considered that a compliment. Anyway, I had been made a priest only 6 or 8 months before. Now the context is this. The bishop of the missionary district, there weren't even a diocese in those days, the bishop of the missionary district was a good man, but not a man you question or argue with. He would say, for instance, "We'll bury anybody, but there will be no second marriages." Not even for widows and widowers. Once. You get the blessing of the church once. The bishop is out of state. And the rector was on vacation. And I alone was in charge. I got a call from a rancher who later became a U.S. Senator. He was a member of the congregation. And I had coffee with him numerous times. He was a very rich man, and I always bought the coffee. But he called me and said, John, I have a friend who is an airplane salesman in Denver. And he wants to get married to a woman he has known since childhood. And she has been diagnosed as terminal, ravaged by MS. She had been married and divorced, had a couple of boys. He had been married and divorced. He said, John, can you preside at that wedding? I said, sure. So they flew up from Denver to Sheridan and went out to this ranch house. I began to get cold feet about doing this. So I went to the Justice of the Peace, a man named Phil Garrett, also a member of the congregation. He said, Phil, I'm not supposed to be doing this wedding. So would you go with me and you sign all the legal papers? So there wouldn't be a paper trail. He loved it. So the evening came for us to do the wedding. Went to the ranch house, lighted up, it was just gorgeous. And I put the communion set down on a cushion by the bay window. And Phil sat down by a little table and got all his legal papers out. And there was a grand piano in the room, and they played. The time came for the wedding. And I asked people to stand. And they stood. And the groom came in. Carrying his bride. And I said to myself, no matter what the consequences are for you, you're doing the right thing. So this poem is called All in White She Was. I've been working on this poem for 60 years, one way or another. And finally, I had it in the form I wanted. Softly, the music played. They came into the room, she in his arms. He set her there, his bride. All in white she was, as if an angel in the wing chair, calm and candlelit, luminous within, a woman ravaged by MS, defying now the darkness, death of this night of her wedding, the groom at her side. Since childhood, best friends, but married others, divorced. Then returned that long love, and with it a plea that with a vow he be father to her sons. I take thee to my wedded wife, to have and to hold from this day forward, till death us do part. And death did, soon parted them. At the grave, father and sons spoke of an angel, all in white she was, luminous within. I suppose this is a protest poem. We have returned to our vegetarianism. You know, my loves, it's not just what we do to cows and pigs and chickens and all kinds of animals. It's what we do to people who have to kill them. And saw, chop, and slice them into pieces for us to eat. They work under the worst conditions, get very low pay, get no benefits. It's cruel. You may remember that toward the beginning of the pandemic, the Smithfield pork processing plant in Sioux Falls, South Dakota was closed down for 3 days. Remember? Because so many of the workers had been infected. So this is about Sioux Falls, South Dakota, the Smithfield plant. And there's a reference here to heat lightning. And I don't know if you know what heat lightning is. You have to have lived in the Midwest or the Plain States to know what heat lightning is. But it's not lightning as we know lightning. It's something other, I don't understand it. But it's a terrifying experience on a summer night, followed by thunder, but no rain. And I use the word effaced because you get the sense that you could be eliminated from this planet. So, you know that reference. The Smithfield plant is noiseless now. The falls, by which the Sioux would sit, sing the song that settles troubled souls, as when a while there is reprieve and rest, and the sensation of things softening. 10,000 pigs won't die today, nor 10,000 squeals gather in a shriek, like the crackling of heat lightning in the night, and the long, low rumble of thunder in the west, and the dark, dark that covers a killing, and a moment's fear of being effaced. Like the animals we sacrifice, we're hung in the mechanism of death, moved along, too swift for questioning, unsorrowing and Sabbathless, considering all creatures lesser than we, fed and fed. Our humanity is wasting. The fury we feel must be Mother Earth's, weeping over our endless predation, calling us home to our hearts, once again to wonder, once again to feel a hallowing beneath our feet, over our heads, soil and sky, and all that live between. Jen and I were in Corvallis, Oregon, maybe 3 years ago now, at the New Morning Cafe or the Grassroots bookstore or something. And as we were headed back to our car, we encountered this homeless man, a large man, leaning against a dress shop window, playing his harmonica. I had never heard anything like it. I mean, it was classical music. So this is called a harmonica player. I mean, that situation was pure poetry. He sat on the sidewalk, a large man, leaned against a dress shop window, shirted in yesterdays, trousered in neglect and aloneness, sad shoes from the worried wandering for food, a bed, the worth of his existence, a bowler, downside hunt for dollars, dimes, eyes closed, seeing maybe a symphony. He played his harmonica, breathes such beauty that mannequins, clothed in poppies, seemed transfixed. People stopped, stood, felt the music as if within themselves, the street corner of a concert hall, a peace beyond all pain. For a while, we put money in the hat, walked away with the moment's immensity, and looked back at the man making music, and the mannequins clothed in poppies, and the people stopped to start again, this time lilting, maybe loving. I'm going to read one more poem, and then Sally's going to play for a few minutes while I catch my breath. Is that okay? Don't go away, because I have some more poems for you. This one is called Chocolate Cake, My Wife. You know, I have dreams. I have fewer dreams than leg cramps, let me tell you that. I have dreams. I don't remember 9/10 of them, but honestly, I remember this dream. Word for word, I remember this dream, and I reported it to Jen the following morning. So it's called Chocolate Cake, My Wife. She makes a chocolate cake, my wife. A chocolate cake, my wife. Devil's food, cake, mix. And chocolate pudding, mix. And chocolate chips. A blessed trinity of ingredients for the confection of bliss, and the sugaring near to gluttony, and then drowsiness, and the night play of a dream. At a church supper somewhere, an old man I was, older than now, slumped, silent, somnolent, yet devouring that chocolate cake when asked to share a prayer. "Oh, God," I said, "it's too bad you're just a spirit, because this chocolate cake is wonderful. Amen."
Several years ago, I discovered a song that I'd like to play for you, recorded by Alabama. And I feel the lyrics express the essence of the ministry of John and Jan, which has been such a blessing to all of us. It's entitled "Angels Among Us," and I'd like to read the lyrics before I play it for you. I was walking home from school on a cold winter day, took a shortcut through the woods, and I lost my way. It was getting late, and I was scared and alone, and a kind old man took my hand and led me home. Mama couldn't see him, but he was standing there. I knew in my heart he was the answer to my prayer. Oh, I believe there are angels among us, sent down to us from somewhere up above. They come to you and me in our darkest hours, to show us how to live, to teach us how to give, to guide us with the light of love. When life held troubled times and had me down on my knees, there's always been someone to come along and comfort me. A kind word from a stranger to lend a helping hand. A phone call from a friend just to say, "I understand." Now, ain't it kind of funny, at the dark end of the road, someone lights the way with just a single ray of hope.
We are merciless. Now the one untimed times us. Every 9 minutes, 29 seconds in succession day long is meant for mercy, until the night's sabbatical of dreams, else a day be wasted, and one's life, and the world with it. We must become mercy's bones, mercy's flesh. Rise, walk the land unwinded, all together, hand in hand, breathing the air of freedom fresh. And the dream shall be of mercy's emancipation. You may remember that at the trial, there was a black man on the witness stand. You may remember particularly the big white glasses that he wore. Remember that? This is called the weeping. Once again, pure poetry on the part of that black man. It looked as if the clothes were his, or if his new to him. fit for courtroom protocol, a black man on the witness stand. It was the new sport coat, the new dress shirt, the tie too, perfectly knotted, that made you wonder if he, for the moment, had been refashioned, or would appear only in his tried soul's apparel. Those drugstore glasses, white-rimmed and outsized, were the sign of his clear vision. Asked to speak about George Floyd's killing, he could see it all again, see himself helpless, standing near, but could not utter a word, not one word, could only weep, wipe his eyes, blow his nose, lay his head on the table, and weep, and weep, and weep, an awful eloquence of wordless weeping for what we've been and have become. The decency of all decent Americans was the sum of him. And when our eyes, too, had been immersed in tears, and we could see again, it was a new land we saw, where no one lives and no one dies under another's knee. And finally, the verdict in that trilogy. One man was taken to his grave, the other to a cell, closed as if a casket, and a pillow made of steel. If there is some satisfaction, it lends itself to a new sorrow now, in the ancient sorrowing of our race. Now the sun only sets. At each stage the moon moans. The bright world is unlit and darkness is deeper than words. In grave or cell, there will be no coffee with men in the morning, nor hot dogs and beer at the ballpark, nor lying on the grass counting stars at night, or flinging firecrackers on the 4th, or making a snowman with kids in the winter, nor sleeping with the woman he loves. Never, not ever again, sleeping with her. Is it Cain who lives in us? Put your hand down, Cain. Hold your heart in it. Make a world large enough for all of us. There's another poetic moment. Boys are attracted to our granddaughter, and I attribute it to very good sense. Who wouldn't be? She can handle projections very nicely, thank you. But last year, when she was in the 7th grade, a 7th grade boy really fell in love with her. And he gave her a blue necklace. I guess it's a kind of engagement thing. And a week later, she had to tell him, quote, "I am not ready for a relationship." But it was such a poetic situation that I had to write a poem. And I've shared this with her, by the way. And she approves. It's called Here. Because when he gave her the necklace, he said, "Here." And that's what he said. Here. Soon lessons of love are learned. The tenderness, the terror of the wondering heart. The boy, mothered to apprehend angels, beheld the startling presence in his own classroom, bright as the midday sun, soft as moonlight and tranquil, deep as a sweet well of water, the whole nature of her rare and good. Like an angel, fallen from his heaven. He felt such a betrothal that it had to be announced. Bought a blue necklace, he and his mother, handed it to the angel in the hallway. "Here," he said, otherwise wordless, by love befuddled. "Here I am," is what he meant. The boy, before an angel who can't be caught, headed now for other heavens of books and basketballs and a sky blue with futures. But someday distant, the boy will say, "Here I am," and she'll say, "Here I am too." Now, this is another one about the wall. The wall is other word. It's a tough poem, but I'm going to stand here. That wall. If only we had that wall, they say. Then we wouldn't see. There huddled in hope, but scorned, slandered. If only we had that wall, they say, then you couldn't see us either. Sorting through the trash of our riches. Searching for our souls, which can, like gold, be found only in some deep vein of mercy. And you, they say, you are poor, worth nothing to us. And you are dirty, and you are diseased, and you are criminals, rapists, murderers, and your children will be just like you. Many unknowing believe, and will not look for the intrinsic loveliness in you, would never behold in you the Christ. There is a national emergency now. So many hearts are hardened, many steeled, many stoned, walled. But one day, we will see that such are ugly. And we will call them so, call them ugly. And tear down these walls within us, these between us, see the intrinsic loveliness in each other. In each other behold the migrant Christ. I think I'm ready. Our time is moving on. You've been a wonderful audience. I don't want to keep you here longer than you want to be here. I can go back, but let's do these from now. This one is called Andrew. Andrew was my father. He died when I was 7. We were in Bluffton, Indiana at the time. And my brother and I were with him as he died of a coronary thrombosis. And my brother ran for a doctor through the February night, and I stayed at his side. And it was just chaos. So we were at our son's house in Paradise Valley, Arizona, and in the guest room was a photograph of my father, which brought up these feelings once again, and I wrote this poem called Andrew. It was there on the desk in the guest room, propped against the wall, a photograph of my father, a young man, languid smile, not suppressing hilarity, for none was in him, ever. Maybe an emerging thankfulness, home from the war in Europe, from Verdun and the trenches, uninjured though gassed, yet a war-wounded soul, expecting little from human beings, less from their God. But half smiling, lucky to be alive and to have met the young woman who would become my mother. For 7 years of my life he lived, ag, teacher, and basketball coach. I tagging behind classroom to gym to farms. He uttering quietness and gentleness from something far away. I can't remember a thing he ever said, nor the sound of his voice. I remember only that guttural groan as the doctor pounded his chest, a gurgle, and a silence deep as death as he whom I adored fled into the winter night, leaving a lifeless body behind and me, uncomprehending. 82 years later, I wonder if somehow he still breathes in me, as I somehow must breathe in my son, all ruffling hair, and a single utterance of gentleness. when I went back at the farm, I used to do two more. And back to the farm, this is in reference to what we see from our window in the morning or in the night. By moonlight, I saw the fields frozen, all immobile as the grasses, all silent as their silvering, elk not shuffling through the apples, nor coyotes calling from the hills, wild turkeys still among the trees, and we unspeaking before the sunrise. Wordless, a sooth is saying, the world heals as voices cease. But for geese gathering in the creek, barred rocks rustling in the roost, and my stroke of the cat on the couch. One day, we'll long for reticence, speak only what's worded by the heart, and gaze, muted, at such goodness as is all about us and in you. I find this very satisfying because it's been a long conviction of mine that there's entirely too much communication. There's not enough silence. And that's what I like about face masks, by the way. I just love these face masks. As for me, I think it improves my appearance. But if this world needs anything, and it needs a lot of things, if it needs anything, it needs more eye contact. The eyes have their own elocution. And we need to look and see what the eyes are saying. So, when it comes to the eye of Lord, I love it, and I certainly do admire you for loving it too. Okay, we're going to conclude with this now. This is my favorite poem. Say it very best. It's called Dessert. And this is the most salacious poem I have ever written. And now you can tell all kinds of stories about my psychology. Oh, John, she said, my wife, you are dessert. Dessert, I asked. Like the Mars Bars mousse in Wales? Or the citrus tapioca pudding in France? Or the Euphoria hot fudge sundaes in Eugene? Or your own rhubarb meringue pie? Better, she said. Better than them all. An old man now. I'm just a metaphor. I'm mousse. I'm pudding. I'm a hot fudge sundae. She calls me confected, a sweetness at the end of this feast. But I remember when I was the entree. And would love to be the entree again. And the hors d'oeuvre too. Now that was the consummate feast. Thank you for coming.